for Senator Schumer's benefit, let me just stipulate you're not Eric Holder, are you?
No, I'm not, sir.
So no one's suggesting that you are, but of course, Attorney General Holder's record is heavy on our minds now. You wouldn't consider yourself to be a political arm of the White House as Attorney General, would you?
No, Senator, that would be a totally inappropriate view of the position of Attorney General.
One of the biggest knocks on soon-to-be former Attorney General Eric Holder was that he allowed race to sway his decision-making process. And no matter how she will seek to minimize it, there are those who will make it part of Loretta Lynch's nomination process. Right or wrong, it is part of the larger conversation now being held across America. Let's welcome to MidPoint former Republican Congressman from Illinois, now president of Flanagan Consulting, Michael Patrick Flanagan joins us. Mike, it's good to see you again.
Nice to talk to you, Ed. How are you today?
It's another day in paradise because we get to dig into more of what's going on inside the Beltway. That always lends to some wonderful education and entertainment. I think you'd agree with me on that one. Let's get to the entertainment then, because certainly it is very obvious that if the Senate Republicans made one thing clear in Loretta Lynch's first day, they would not nominate Eric Holder as Attorney General. It's the one thing they made clear. Is it really fair to continue hammering away at her and making these Holder comparisons?
I think it is. And they're not trying to couple her to Holder. They're trying to discern the president's view of this cabinet member. And is the president nominating someone who will serve the law and serve the people, or is the president nominating someone who will serve him and an ideology? And I think that's what they're trying to discern by making the Holder comparisons.
Are we not kidding ourselves, though, because when a president picks somebody for the cabinet, there has to be a really good part of his or her own ideology that needs to be followed by the person there. So right off the bat, you know that she is, no matter what she says, and we're not calling her untruthful or anything, but she simply does still serve the president, correct?
You are exactly correct, and that's why I believe she'll be confirmed, because the president will make a nomination that's in keeping with something that he requires, and that is someone who believes, as he believes, in the operation of the law, however incorrect, in the case of the immigration executive order, for example, it may be. And Mrs. Lynch probably doesn't view herself as being a toady of the president, but she'll agree with him in every detail, simply because they are they have the same view of the role of the president, incorrect though it may be.
As we look at Loretta Lynch's past and what little bit we know and what we can read, of course, people who know her, do you think we should be comfortable in the fact that she is not Eric Holder and that she really does have her own mind and is willing to put law first?
As you may know, I sat on the House Judiciary Committee, which didn't do anything to do with informations, but I know how the lawyers think on these committees and the questions they ask. And I think a lot of what the Senate Republicans, and maybe the Democrats too, are trying to discern is her level of general honesty. They're not going to find someone that agrees with them philosophically. They're not going to find someone that says, no, the president's wrong, but he nominated me anyway. That's not going to happen. You're never going to see a nominee who does that. But do we have someone whose general honesty level is high enough to actually confess, you know, that they screwed up with a Fast and Furious or something like that? And I think that's where a lot of the questioning is going, and I think generally they're satisfied so far. Would it be their pick if they could pick one? No, of course not. But is it the best they're likely to get from this administration? I think that's the reason she'll be confirmed.
Got about a minute left before we take a break and then come back. There are a lot of people who still look at Eric Holder and they say that he made race a big part of his leadership of the Department of Justice. How then does Loretta Lynch make sure that she puts that aside and assuages any fears that she would follow the same step and perhaps put race ahead of the law?
I think she can serve her president, serve our president, and not do what Holder did. And I think plain, painful honesty is a great way to start down that road. And hopefully she'll do that right from the outset and confirm, for example, what the Justice Department has said in the Ferguson matter, and that there shouldn't be a civil rights matter that holds. And hopefully, you know, she'll say, yes, that's right, and confirm it and move on with that. And that'll be a nice indicator from the beginning that she's going to serve the law and most of the time, and the president all of the time.
All right, that's going to be the big key, at least following the law. I think that's what people are going to be watching for. If you would, please stand by a couple of moments, because in light of the current fight against certain terrorists, some believe America should soften up on torture and understand it's part of what may need to be done in order to win another war, but we don't always have to do it. Well, Loretta Lynch has left no doubt where she stands on this issue and also on the issue of immigration. That has raised a lot of hackles in her early confirmation searing stages. We're going to dig into those statements and a whole lot more when MidPoint continues, where we question everything. Let's welcome back to MidPoint former Republican congressman from Illinois, current president of Flanagan Consulting in D.C., Michael Patrick Flanagan. Mike, we just had this handed to us a couple of minutes ago. I wanted to get your immediate reaction to this before we moved on a little bit more with regard to the possible Attorney General. But the White House today announcing that the president's budget will propose $74 billion more than current spending caps. That's an increase of about 7%. The president is determined he will continue to tax. What's your reaction?
Well, he'll try and tax, and he won't be able to tax, and the Republicans won't let him tax. I mean, it's just not going to happen. I think what he's trying to do is announce a way to spend, and he has to talk about some taxes to go with it. As you know, as I know, as anyone who pays any attention knows, the president's budget is, whether it's Republican or Democrat, is almost always DOA as it hits Capitol Hill, and Congress writes its own budget. And so the president proposes a great deal more spending. He had to propose a larger amount of spending because he has his own priorities in domestic spending, and he also asked for a huge plus up in defense as well. And that plus up is part of his dawning reality that we actually have a fight with ISIL, we have a fight in Afghanistan, and he's going to need blood and treasure to fight that fight in his last 2 years so it doesn't go completely sky high. So he's going to marry that to his domestic priorities and try and pawn it all off with higher taxes on the quote-unquote unrich and capital gains and other job-killing measures. Congress will handle these matters. The question is, will they blow the sequester caps to help out and get greater money at defense? And that's not settled yet.
Well, let me ask you this. Do you think they will?
I don't know. I really don't know. I think they'd like to spend a lot more money on defense, but then they'd have the question of how do they keep the caps and everywhere else but defense. And so it's going to be a very difficult matter to work through. Either you have the caps, you don't them, and I don't think they'll be able to keep some here and let the others go. And so they're going to, if they want to spend more on defense, they're going to have to blow the caps everywhere, and I don't think they're ready to do that. So I don't really think it's going to happen, but I don't know. They may find a way through it.
We've talked about this before, but when we look at this budget, we look at the numbers here, $530 million for domestic, $37 billion more than the limits established by the sequestration. Isn't this, at the end of the day, simply just more Chicago politics, gamesmanship more than anything else?
Well, yeah, and it certainly is, you buy and warehouse your votes, but also it's a matter of continuing to feed your constituency, and where you have Chicago politics married to real, live, dyed-in-the-wool socialist liberals who believe in a large welfare state. You have really an unholy alliance that spends a lot of your money on stuff that you don't want it spent on, and frankly, often the people who receive it are not particularly interested in having it. So it's a bad combination, and thank goodness there's a Republican Congress to hopefully check this.
All right, now let's go back. We got that out of the way now. There's more money being spent. Gee, what a shock. It's Washington. Let's go back to a couple of the comments here that Loretta Lynch has made. She told the senators on Wednesday that acts of waterboarding do constitute torture and are thus illegal. There's a couple of people still not very satisfied with that at this point. Fair to say that this is one of the landmines here, this in immigration, that she is going to have to learn how to navigate rather quickly?
Yeah, I don't know that she needs to navigate it so much as will a Pentagon or the NSC or other intelligence agencies, will they perform waterboarding in the Obama administration? The answer is no. So it'll never come up. It's an academic question for her at this point. She's in disagreement with international convention, if that helps any, but it's a question that is very unlikely to come up.
Let me ask you about immigration here, because certainly Senator Jeff Sessions of Alabama was very unhappy with some of her answers on immigration, basically saying that she does support the president's executive actions on immigration, but she would be all right with basically having an illegal immigrant get a job here in America. That really rankled a bunch of people on the Hill. But is it fair to say that this is sort of a tempest in a teapot, that while people are unhappy about it, she probably still will be the next Attorney General.
I don't know if it's a tempest in a teapot. The criticisms by Senator Sessions are absolutely valid, and her towing the administration line is completely predictable, and I would be flabbergasted if any nominee, including her, would say anything other than that. That's how you get to be a nominee. So my guess is that Senator Sessions' criticism, though absolutely correct, will not be enough to defeat her nomination. But at the same time, let's not lose the fact that his criticism is absolutely correct, and that this is a huge problem that the courts, that Congress have to take action on and reconcile quickly. Otherwise, we live in a borderless country without any ability or apparently desire to enforce our own laws.
I only got about 15 seconds left. You're right. What he says is exactly true, but the tempest, I think, comes to the point of the fact that she's not Eric Holder, so many people expect her to be confirmed. Would you agree with that?
I think she'll be confirmed, again, as I said, because her level of forthcomingness or her level of candid honesty is higher than Holder's. And I think that they'll look forward to her having a more revealing Justice Department than the secretive one that just serves the president as opposed to the law that Holder's was.
Candor in Washington, D.C. What a great idea indeed. Michael Patrick Flanagan, always a pleasure to have you on the show, my friend. Thanks so much. We'll talk again. All right, take care. Post-traumatic stress syndrome, to this day looked upon by some as nothing more than an excuse. We'll cover that when we come back on MidPoint.